Here.
Councilor Denton.
Here.
Councilor Pella.
Here.
Councilor Holloway.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. At this time, do I have a motion to allow Councilor Holloway to participate remotely?
So move.
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made by Councilor Pelham and seconded by Councilor Harris. Councilor Holloway, for the record, can you state where you're conducting the meeting from and the purpose of which you're asking to participate remotely?
My residence and my daughter.
Okay. Mrs. Burton, does it need to be more specific than just residence, like state, like locality or anything like that?
It could be a little bit.
I said my residence.
It's at the residence, that's a locality.
Okay. Is that fine? Okay. Okay. All right. Is there any other discussion? Okay. Seeing none, roll call, please.
Councilor Denton.
Yes.
Councilor Pella.
Yes.
Councilor Joyner.
Yes.
Councilor Harris.
Yes.
Mayor Parton.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gore.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Okay. All right, we're going to begin our meeting with the committee report from our new finance director, Mrs. Jordan.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. This is the September Finance Committee meeting.
This is September.
Oh, I'm sorry, August, excuse me.
You're just excited. You just want to move into next month.
I do.
Can you see on your screen?
There you go.
No,
There we go.
it's locked.
Thank
You
you.
have the password.
Is she using the laptop? Using the laptop?
I guess so.
All right.
I mean, you have a thumb drive that you're running? Oh, then I'll do it in commercial.
Enlarge it, baby. That little bit stuff that you get.
There we go.
I have a hard time seeing.
Thank you. Okay, so our agenda for tonight, we'll go over the minutes from the last meeting that should have been provided to you. We're looking at the fiscal year 24 preliminary financials to include citywide, general fund, enterprise, and schools. We're also reviewing the draft financial policies, reports from the Commissioner of the Revenue, as well as the Treasurer and September committee items. Okay, 2024 preliminary citywide. Citywide preliminary revenues over expenses reflect a surplus of $1.2 million. The city is on a 60-day accrual. The fiscal year 24 closeout date for all transactions to include accruals will be August 31st, 2024. Variances in the budget versus actual for revenues include personal property tax. They're higher due to aggressive delinquency collections, machinery and tools, charges for services. It's increased due to billing, and that will be reflected in the Commissioner of Revenue's report. Miscellaneous revenues budgeted for $24 million. We only received $1, so that part is down, and that includes surplus, cost recovery, rebates, and donations, as well as the transfers in. The expenses are down due to benefits, services and supplies, capitals, and transfer out.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, do you want us to ask questions
Yes, you can, absolutely.
as we go along? Okay.
Absolutely.
I cannot remember 10 pages from there, Mr. Mayor.
You just jot it down on a sheet of paper.
Don't
You
worry.
do just like you were in
I'll forget where I
college.
jotted it down. I'll forget where I jotted it.
Okay, can you hear me now? Is it recording? Is that better?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Hello?
So yes, ma'am, Councilwoman.
Okay,
Hello.
and does that mean that, and did we do the same thing for 25? Do you know right off?
No, ma'am, I do not. I'm sorry, but I would say
You
so.
checked it out, I mean, why keep budgeting that much money for miscellaneous if you're not
I
continuing?
absolutely agree. Yes, ma'am. We have, Dr. Maker and myself, we've talked about restructuring the city's budget to be more in line with the revenues and expenses.
You know, I hate miscellaneous anyway. You'll learn that.
Okay, any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
So, nice to meet you.
You
I haven't
too.
met you yet. I've heard about you, heard great things. Thank you for joining the administration and being a part of city manager's team.
Thank you.
Welcome. So in regards to miscellaneous revenue, we've
Yes,
talked
ma'am.
about this in the past and asking for that to be broken out, and I thought it was broken out, just to make sure we're on the same page in terms of what is under the revenue category. When you have a chance, can you please communicate to city manager, she can relate to us what is included in that? Because in the past, we were told it's different grants, we were told it's different pass-through monies, which is why we wanted it broken out for better accounting. So can you give us that information? Because quite frankly, I know you're just getting here and everything like that, but it is important for us to branch that out sooner than later, so that way we can have this year's accounting a little bit more cleaner.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I just want to make sure we're tracking the same thing under miscellaneous revenue.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, next slide, please. Okay. General Fund fiscal year 24 preliminary. General Fund preliminary revenues over expenses reflect a surplus of $7 million. There are several potential uses for this 24 surplus. 5 full-time positions, fully funded at $542,000. If you fund them half of the year, it will be $271,000. It's a position in City Attorney's Office, the Commonwealth Attorney 2, Information Technology 1, and Economic Development 1. And I do believe in the packet, there should be a breakdown of those positions on the back.
Okay, and if I can pause and add some additional information to this slide. There is $7 million estimate that is carrying over from 24. However, those dollars are already earmarked to the water department for true-ups. So technically, we have about $2 million. So when you're looking at your list here in the back for the, let me get you the page here.
Enterprise.
Is the position request fund that shows you the breakdown of the requests that's out here.
What page?
It's not a page number, I
Doesn't have a page
apologize.
number.
No, ma'am, but
Under
it's
September
it's right
items.
here.
It's not-
That's
Okay.
what it looks like.
Hold on, can you hold it back up? There it
It's,
is.
position request, it's color coded. We're asking council consideration on these items.
What is, well, the other portion would be, is all this $7 million money that's gonna be in the revenue coming in for the out years?
Exactly.
For the upcoming year?
Not
Yes.
just the upcoming year, a position is forever. So
Right.
you can't just say, I have $7 extra million if I can't pay fringe and benefits and
Right.
salary for the next
Right.
20 years.
That's a question for the Commissioner of Revenue. It's to my understanding that those increase came through M&T increase.
But the $7 million is a
$7
total
million came from.
of different things, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Looking at this,
Majority of it came from
Machinery and tools tax.
machinery and tools tax. Yes.
yeah,
Great
but
majority
I
of
think-
it.
I think
About
that's-
$5 million came from machinery and tools.
I think Councilor Pelham's question is very valid,
You know, we don't want to be allocating dollars that we're not going to be able to support these positions next year. That is not very sound.
And plus the fact that, you know, council didn't promise, but we said something about reducing taxes or not going up on taxes next year because we raised the taxes on citizens. So if you got extra money, you got to consider that as well. That's money that can be saved in their pockets.
And
So
Dr. Manker,
I would say on your sheet, the only thing that is the most critical here is the public, Whitston Churchill Road repairs. Okay,
Yeah.
The repairs are already underway and invoices have already begun to come in. And so we already knew that that was an outstanding cost. So aside from the positions, you have here, you know, the Winston Churchill repairs, you have the generator, the marina costs, which is a request. And we've already committed to the purchase of the 1101 Maple Drive. So I would say that you have two that are required.
Which
The
one?
104, 104,000 under economic development. We committed to that
Winston Churchill.
in the Winston Churchill.
That's the house behind Shiloh Lodge.
Yes, yes. ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the economic development of 604,000, right?
No, I broke down the request.
Oh, I see. Okay, I got you.
At least the marina repair costs are one time. I mean,
Yes.
I worry about some of these recurring expenditures, salaries, that kind of thing.
Dr. Manker, for on the Commonwealth's attorney side, I had a conversation with Mr. Newman when we were at that press conference,
Yes, sir.
and again, maybe I misunderstood him, but I think he at that time was more interested in trying to raise existing salaries of his current employees than
No.
adding folks because he couldn't. I mean, he has vacancies right now.
Well, so at that press conference, he mentioned that the cold case attorney was, the salary was provided through a grant.
Right. Yeah, I understand that
And
one.
so, you know, at the mic, he said he hadn't got a chance to talk to. He talked to several people on council, but he hadn't got a chance to talk to
Hasn't talked to
myself
me.
about it. So,
Haven't heard a word from
but
him.
did you hear? He said that, right?
Yeah, I mean, he said he was going to call everybody and
okay,
talk to them.
But he had not. All right.
Well,
So
he talked to-
the
he
request
did talk
came
to me,
over.
and I
This
thought
is
he
his
talked to
request
Johnny.
Yeah.
to fund the cold case attorney.
Okay.
If you got
That's
a
the
grant, well, we
request.
got to fund it.
But we also have two RGB requests, which is a ERP administrator and an economic development specialist. So this is just put before you to have a discussion,
Yeah.
consideration. We don't need any decisions today. Okay?
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say, I don't feel, in a good place to make any decisions tonight. Especially, just getting the packet yesterday, and we're, dealing with, reoccurring things. But one thing, and this might be some, homework for Charles to look at with the marina. I know we said we didn't want to give the marina, general revenue money. That's why we were, increasing, the slip fees and everything. But, maybe look at, doing a loan. It is okay.
This is an advancement. I've fully leased all the safe spaces. I've got a waiting list for safe spaces.
Do you mind just coming up to the mic?
Sorry.
That's okay.
So, after an assessment from July 1st till now, we fully leased every space that is safe. The spaces that you see are vacant are either transient, which we lease on a daily basis, or I have a waiting list for the slips that are going to be once they're repaired. So I just approached Dr. Manker. I said we can either get a loan outside and pay outside financing, or the city could basically make the repairs, because right now we don't have any more way to raise revenue until I have more safe spaces to lease. And once these repairs are done, we'll be generating close to $60,000 a year in revenue from just this request. So it's really just an advancement.
Okay, yeah, I mean, my thought was if the city, from the general revenue side, loans money to the enterprise account to take care of the marina, and then it pays the city back over X number of years at a certain percentage, then that way it could, help the, the city side as well.
Well, we get the money back
I would rather
Right.
the city pay its self-interest than an outside bank. Absolutely.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Sure. Yeah. So we're at the situation right now, as I said, where I can't lease more spaces because they're not safe.
Right, you have to, yeah, I understand. I saw another light on. And, okay.
I have a few thoughts. One is in terms of the ask that's presented before us for consideration. I can support a legal assistant given what we know to be the volume in the attorney's office, and it's been something I've actually advocated for quite some time to have another person in there. And I feel like that's a necessity given where we are with our search for a full-time attorney. In addition, obviously, Winston Churchill and then the property that we committed ourselves to purchase already. Outside that, me personally speaking, I feel like it's a little premature for any other decision making. One, I feel like we should really get out of the habit of doing mid-year or halfway after the budget additional expenses to amend the budget. Two, I also feel like given our things that we're trying to come out of financially, I feel like we don't know we don't know still, either with the records themselves, because they're still in that process being audited. Two, we still have the issue with the schools we have to resolve, and we don't know what those expenses may be. And then three, this is a great year for us, but then to the point that was made earlier, what about next year? And we did talk about starting to put back our savings to help with getting our bond ratings back. And so I feel like the priority for us until the dust truly settles and we know where we are should be to pay ourselves by putting our money into our savings and focus on getting our bond ratings back and getting to a steady financial place and then make these other decisions. I mean, if it were not for the windfall money that we have, people would be operating as they are right now. And so I feel like, quite frankly, that's what needs to happen because we keep making hasty decisions, and that's kind of also what contributed to us being where we are right now. And so me personally, I can't support anything outside of that. Clearly we have a full council here, but I would caution everyone in regards to really pausing to assess really what's pressing right in this very moment versus allowing us to finish with RBG, see where we are with the schools and the other things that come up that we might need to use that money to address. And also last thing I would say, we haven't did capital improvements for a while. We know that information. So again, something else may happen with the wastewater, that cost $6 million. If this is 1/3 of that, so if they have another emergency, we will not have that cushion that we needed at the time. And so I just feel like, it seems like a lot, but it's really not a lot.
Understood.
All right. Any other lights or questions?
I think she's about to say something.
No, I was just going to say that what you were just speaking about is at the bottom, the draft financial policies that are about to be adopted on the 27th of August do state that in the reserve policy that the city will maintain minimum fund balance of 20% of the budget, which is about $10.9 million. Policy states that the city shall establish a budget stabilization fund, which is equal to about 2.7, and policy states that the city shall establish a debt service capital reserve fund in the amount of $3 million, as well as unfunded capital for 25 is already at 4.2. So on top of everything else that's listed here, there's also other requirements that the city would need to abide by after we adopt these financial policies. So moving forward, any additional funds that we receive should go to your fund balances. But it's council's decision, of course.
Well, there you have it.
So if you add all those three numbers you quoted, would be like $16 million we should have in savings, you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much do we have right now? How much we have in our rainy day fund right
I
now?
believe at the last CAFR that was submitted was 2019, and I believe your fund balance was at 15.
How much?
15 million, I believe.
Okay.
That's not too much off.
That was 2019.
So it's just making sure that we
That's
stay in
19.
line with what's actually documented in the fund, in the financial policies once they're adopted.
But I'm not sure we even knew when that 2019 was submitted, what we
What
had in
amounts
anything.
were.
At that
That was a number that was just, somebody put it in
Put in
there.
this.
And that was 5. And I hate to say this, but I don't know if you can move the microphone or something because you're very low on our side, to be able to let your voice carry a little bit more.
Okay, I'll just stand on this side. Is that better? Can everybody hear me now?
Not really.
No, it's kind of the same.
James coming. Let me call.
Yeah, but to Councilor Jones' point, that was 2019. Our records are clearly not the best then,
No.
and then this is 5 years later, so yeah.
So maybe Dr. Manker, you might be able to answer this question, or this might come from risk management or somebody. Have we sought out any sort of compensation from the individual's insurance company when he ran through the barricades?
We did.
Okay.
The risk manager has reached out to VML. They are actually in the process of wrapping things up. So
Okay.
I can do a follow-up. But
Yeah.
about 2 weeks ago, they were still in the middle of
Negotiations.
negotiation and filing his insurance. I think the problem became that the person that was driving was not on the insurance policy, and so some complications came about because of that.
Okay.
So that's where we are thus far.
Okay. Yeah, keep us
Well,
abreast of that
Bill
because, I
25.
mean,
That could impact that number.
money could impact the project and then it could end up helping us tackle some of these other things, I mean, especially, keeping with our raising the rainy
but it will
days.
be a payback because we won't have the money before we need to.
Right, but I mean,
Right,
it
yeah.
allows us to, prepare.
So come back and have this
Right.
conversation when you have
Yes.
to.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay, I'm sorry. Continue, Ms. Jordan.
good point.
Next slide, please. Are there any other questions on the general fund?
And, I just put a plug in, also involving economic development, you still need someone else to carry the.
Yeah, we need additional staff for that.
Can you look at, Mr. Bob said, he was gonna reach out to the state for some assistance with that as well. I think he said he knew there was some, state one-time assistance that we could
Yeah.
utilize or take advantage of.
We had a conversation, Mr. Bennett and I had a conversation with Mr. Bob today. He's gonna continue to try to do that, but we put this in here as well, because he wasn't really clear on whether or not that will be supported.
Okay. Vice Mayor Gore?
Forgive me because this packet was here, so I haven't had a chance to scrub everything. But in regards to what Councilor Palmer was asking about earlier with miscellaneous revenue, it's budgeted FY23 for $6,500,000 was collected. These gaps that have been identified, and you're saying there's an overage. Where does that overage come from? Where is that reflected here?
Can you say it one more time, please? Which one are you looking at? You looking at general fund or the
Let's
city
just use
fund?
miscellaneous revenue as the example that Councilor Palmer asked about. It's budgeted in FY23 is $6 million.
Yes, ma'am.
Actual is $500,000. So where is the overage that you're talking about being reflected at, even with this last year and then what you have for FY24? Where is the $7 million coming in play? Because I don't.
Do you
I'm not
see it right
seeing
here at the bottom?
General fund?
Expected by end of year.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's not actually something we actually obtained as of yet,
No,
right?
because we're still in the process
Versus-
of closing out this fiscal year. As of right now, it's 6.5. But we still have to do revenue accruals, and we have AP accruals that still have to be processed. And we have adjusted entries for year end that have to be done as well. So we're still in the process, but this is our expected end of the year numbers once everything has been done.
Yeah, so that's another component too that I have some pause on to see what it's going to balance out, because in prior years, one of my concerns that we talked about when we had the budget processes, staff had gave projections for us to do a budget, and in reality it was way less, or either asked them, how did you come up with this trend, how did you come up with this guesstimate, and they couldn't supply the backup information. Case in point, it was sales and lodging taxes that was entirely not even in Munis. So I was like, how did you come up with this number if it's literally not in Munis? The money was being collected a whole nother line item, and so and they weren't even tracking that as well. So that's what my concern is. I know you're coming into this and you're clearly qualified and capable, but I also urge you to double check these end of year estimates to see if it is real. Because again, we've had past practices, or if we've given these things, but when someone really sat down and dived into it, it really wasn't what they estimated.
Yeah, we have been diving through the numbers, especially when it came to the meals and tools tax, because it didn't look correct when I first looked at it, looking at your previous history.
Mm-hmm.
Even with your budget, if you can go back to the citywide funds, please. So when you're looking at your revised budget, you have 218, let's just look at 23, $218 million over 228 million. But you're only receiving the actuals 198.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing I would say is we're over budgeting for certain things, right? We're not meeting the revenues at all. And when you tend to over budget, especially when it comes to expenses, you have people that think that money is available and they're just going to spend. So that's how you always end up upside down. Now, as far as 24, revised budget goes, 234,244 expenses we only received for 24 is in line with 23, which is $197 million, as well as the actuals for the expenses, 196. That's one of the things I was saying. Dr. Macon and I talked about restructuring the city's budget because you are way over budget for what you're actually bringing in the door. So.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Is there any possibility that in the future you could drill down a little farther for us? I think it would be really important in some of these line items. You need to be drilling down so that we know what the composition of some of these big line items are.
Absolutely.
Because there was a special meeting that I did call Dr. Menker, reschedule it several times because different factors outside of her control and our control. I really wanted to focus on the collection piece, kind of what you just talked about, but then also the delinquent payment part of the equation, because
it's coming up.
Yes, because that is, like to your point, we keep over budgeting, number one, but then also we're budgeting when we know we're not getting the money in, and then also look at the contract. So that's why I also have pause regarding just spending this money right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, could you please go forward back to the enterprise?
Where are we now?
I think it's Enterprise Fund Fiscal Year 24 preliminary.
Yes. Enterprise Fund preliminary for 24. Enterprise includes your regional water, sewer, solid waste, as well as stormwater. Enterprise preliminary 24 revenues and expenses reflect a loss of $13 million. Loss of revenue is due to poor collections and under budgeted expenses. As everyone is well aware that they received an additional like $6.5 million in expenses emergency. And then if you go to the next slide, please, ma'am. It's the same issue that you have with general as well as citywide. When you look at your revenues, you budgeted for 52 million, you only received 30. 23, you received 27, but you budgeted for 36.
Very poor. Very poor budget.
There are some other issues with a contractor that works with the city in regards to water that we're trying to work through those as well. So some issues with collections.
Wait a minute. You having trouble with what again?
One of the contractors that work with the city that handles the collections piece.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah.
Data integrators.
The bane of my existence. I can't stand it. Everybody knows that.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Still not resolved.
So just to piggyback on this conversation, at the September 10th meeting, I should be finalizing to bring back to council a proposal to bring in the collections for data integration in-house while they continue to send out the building. So we've learned that they allow the city to actually manage. They have a managed module there, and so we can have access to that module. We're still trying to work out the logistics of where the payments will come in and who will apply those payments, which department, they will come in through the treasurer, and then maybe we'll allow the finance department to apply those payments to the accounts of the individuals. But there is a logistics piece that we're just trying to work out, and hopefully we'll have that information to share with council at the September 10th meeting.
Is
not
that
the
gonna
next one,
recoup
but
the money? That would be a way of recouping the money, or data integrators have
Well,
to
it'd be a
recoup?
way for us to keep the money in-house without having to send the money to Fredericksburg and have them to apply the payment and then send the money back. We'll have control of those
And
dollars.
we're not gonna be,
Who's the delinquent part of it? Who's tracking that? Because they don't do it.
We will be,
Doing it.
that will be brought in. It will bill, we will control collections.
We'll be able to handle that.
We'll be able, well, that's the proposal we're gonna bring.
Well, hats off to you for that, because we've been asking for that
Oh,
for how
yes,
many?
we
We
have.
have been asking for that for years. So definitely on board with that. I would just say, when the past when council has asked for this, like Councilor Denton said, this is spanned between multiple councils. This is a new council, but the older councils have been begging for this to come on board. When we asked for this staff for that were in wastewater and public works to move over to finance, so that finance has all the finance staff. I feel like it's key to keep that with the finance team and not in the field, because clearly there's issues with the field staff managing some accounting parts that they're working through.
Yeah.
But definitely that would be such a good one.
I mean, it definitely will increase the traffic to the treasurer's department, and that's we're not sure if they have the staff, and so that's something we'll need to talk about.
just been
Once
a
again,
long
that's
line.
another cost, that we need to factor in.
That can be $2 million. That pay for itself.
But I think the citizens would appreciate
Oh, no doubt about
being able to come to City Hall, not have the fees assessed
Automatically cuts
because of
out.
the mail not reaching to Fredericksburg in a timely manner. So I think it'll be a game changer. But there are
They will
some
still bill. They will still bill.
They will still bill. They will
They
still
don't. They
send-
still don't bill very well. Even if they don't do that.
I mean,
so.
to bring it fully in-house, I'm talking about a hybrid model, but to bring it fully in-house is very costly.
Well,
Maybe
will
we
they-
can do.
their contract decrease for just doing collection?
We will have to amend the contract
Yeah.
if we're going to take over
We're
the
not
billing and
gonna
collection.
give them extra people to collect, and they just,
But is it, because that contract, that vendor also does sewer and trash, I believe. That's also part of the issue with their collection. So is this only with the, so it's gonna be the whole kit caboodle?
Yes.
Okay.
It's okay by me. I've done it before, so either way, y'all want to do it, it's okay.
Stacy, I'm sorry.
That's okay. All right. Any other questions on enterprise? Next is the schools.
enterprise.
Schools preliminary fiscal year 24 revenues over expenses reflect a surplus of 7.1. Now 6.3 of that was increased in April due to additional grants that they got. So just the 7.1 minus the 6.3 is what they're going to have. So they're showing a major increase because of the additional grants that they received back in April. Those figures also include, previously when you guys were getting the budget to actuals, you weren't seeing, if you go to the next slide, please, Pam. You were not seeing the transfers in, which is the money that the city provides to the school system. This time we're starting to add it in so you can see the entire picture. So you can see all the revenues, including their grants, as well as the money the city puts into them, as well as their expenditures.
Too bad I'm leaving.
Any questions?
Vice Mayor Gordon.
That's amazing.
Yes. It is absolutely amazing.
All this was possible before you came, right? You did this.
Yeah, it was just kind of hit, like, I don't want to say it was hidden because it was just kind of cut out so you could see without the city's contribution what the schools look like. But I believe to them, the schools, it's a revenue. What we give them is still revenue to them, so it should be documented on the report. So I'm adding it back into the report.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
The vice chair reached out to ask for us to go ahead and schedule that committee meeting regarding finances. I was waiting for this meeting to put it onto the floor in regards to scheduling, because I also want to make sure that when we call it, that you and Dr. Manker are also present because of the comments that we had the last few meetings in regards to them implementing their own financial system, and then also in regards to the lack of an accounting specialist that was working with Robert Group. So again, I forgot who was on it. I know I'm on it, but I think he was Councilor Joyner.
I
We've
am.
had a meeting.
We've had a
already.
meeting. We had a Munis meeting.
We're waiting on.
Yeah, it's Mr. Holloway was on is on the committee with me.
The finance one.
No,
Right,
the
so-
joint working task force.
Yeah. And then the other
there's a-
one
there's a-
is
a plan.
Mrs. Joyner and Mrs. Denton.
No, that's the same
No.
one. Ms. Denton came in
She
Mr.
just came as
Holloway's
a
place.
guest.
Right.
Yeah, there's
Right.
2 working groups. One is finance
Right.
and one is in general. So
I know, I think I'm on both of
One
them.
is
Finance.
facilities.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So I'm on the finance one.
I think there's a facilities
I don't
one.
think so.
There's no finance one.
This is the finance one.
This is,
No, there's one with the schools. That's what I'm saying. There's a working group and then there was a facilities one, right?
Yeah, but I think
We had a
I think Mrs. Joyner's on both of them.
I
and
am.
then Councilor Holloway's on one and Councilor Denton's on the other.
Well,
Oh, really?
whoever is on
Oh,
whatever.
I don't think so.
I'm positive.
taking
I think you are, Vice Mayor, I think you are.
Right. But what I'm saying is there's 2 groups. One has Mrs. Joyner on both of them.
Right.
Then one of them has you on there as a member, and then the other has Councilor Holloway as a member.
Yeah, but then because he hadn't been able to go to any of those meetings,
Right, you
and
went.
we haven't had
We haven't
a
had any
meeting with
meetings.
the other one,
Right,
I went with that one, with
Right.
Ms. Joyner.
right.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, whatever committee it is, I don't want a committee that talks about finances, and they asked to call a meeting. So whoever needs to be a part of that conversation.
You mean the school's budget?
I
Yes.
don't think there's no finance committee meeting, standing finance committee meeting for schools.
No.
Not for one of.
We had invited them to our meetings occasionally,
But we don't have a separate.
Well, these are conversations we had talked about in the past. Is why the vice chair reached out and to get it coordinated, because I definitely was on it. But we will figure out how
Yeah.
to
We can
respond
have
back to him.
Well,
So
we
I
can have a
just,
special meeting if he wants to.
Sure.
Or working, I mean, we want to establish a working group right now?
I just want to make sure I honor his request.
Are we talking about the
We're gonna do
school
like a
board
little
committee?
Who wants to be on it? Clearly you. I thought I was
No,
on it, but if somebody else wants to do it, they
Dominique,
can do it as well.
Council
Holloway,
Holloway
you want to do it with him?
For budget,
For budget.
okay.
So Council Holloway and Council Joyner, you both want to be on the one regarding the budget.
He's
fine
trying to
with
say
me.
something. He was saying something,
I think he
Council.
said he wanted to do it.
Okay.
Right, Council Holloway, is that correct?
No. I was getting clarification on, because y'all said it was 2 boards, and I was trying to get clarification on what other board you were speaking about.
There's clearly some mix up.
Yeah.
We can address it like outside of this. I'm just trying to make
Yeah.
sure I
I'll-
get the meeting
We'll revisit
called.
this.
Yeah.
Let's revisit
Yeah.
this.
So, but at the end of the day, I'll send an email to you, and so I guess Council Holloway did one. Who else wants to do it? If no one wants to do it, I'll just do it.
I don't have any.
Councilor Joyner and myself, I will send an email to be responsive and ask for a special working group to talk about whatever it is with the budget. You guys cool with that?
Yeah, that's fine with
Okay,
me.
so I have 3 meetings, I'm sorry, working groups. I have a RGB ERP working group, that's with the Munis, that's a working group. I'm not sure who's on the facilities group, and now we're establishing a subcommittee for budget, and that's gonna be Gore and Joyner, Councilor Gore and Joyner, okay.
I'm on the facilities. I was
You're
on
on
the
the
facilities.
facilities?
Yes,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Are y'all talking about the school board?
yes.
Guys, let's
Yes.
take this
So
discussion
I'm
offline.
on the-
Yeah, we'll
I'm on the.
Brittany has sent it to me, a couple weeks ago when we started this, and I'll send out what we have written down in the minutes on who's on what.
Yeah, I'm on the school board working one, but they said that they had not had any meetings for that. The only meeting that they had was the one that we called them to.
For the Munis.
Okay.
For the Munis.
I just got my answer, so we can.
Okay, I'm sorry, before we pass it over to the treasurer for their report, I just want to make sure I have clarification from the council. For the next meeting, I don't want to have items on the agenda that we're not ready for. But the purchase of 1101 Maple Drive is required, so I will have that on the agenda. In the Winston Churchill repair request, I'm going to be asking council for those approvals on that day. Or are we saying everything else we're holding on?
Well, I think, yeah. I mean, well, there's, you know,
So we can
outstanding
have a-
questions. I mean,
Okay.
you know, the ones with the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office, you know,
That's
we need to
fine.
find that out. You know, what a potential loan would look like that the city could make money off the marina. What were the other ones?
Can I say something?
Go
And
ahead.
itemize what the revenue is, if it's reoccurring revenue or is it one-time revenue savings? Because that makes the difference in paying for a position or not.
Yeah. Also,
It's just actually, it's end of the year, this is what will go. If we
That's,
don't spend it
you'll
to
show us that
fund
anyway, okay, we never
ma'am.
seen it, but, so it'll be the first.
Breakdown
Yeah.
of it.
balance. Yes, ma'am.
and then just a status update on where we stand with Mr. Bob working on if we can get some state funding for that economic development specialist position.
All right, thank you, Stacy.
Yes, ma'am. Is it commissioners next? So got me a little bit longer. This was just a slide for the overview of the financial policies that have been put on the agenda for the August 27th meeting for adoption. This is the revenue estimates from the Commissioner of the Revenue, Ms. Deborah Reason. So in 2023, she had 7.5 million, including license fees for personal property. For 2024, she only billed 7.3, including license fees. This includes vehicle, business, personal property, boats, and mobile homes. Marina boats may be lower due to increase in slip fees. These boats are being prorated as they move out.
I think I saw a light.
Yeah.
Is
Is there a reason why Ms. Reason's not here tonight?
No, she didn't confirm coming tonight. I did check with her though.
Yeah, I think it'd be useful to have, you know, we're having these open finance committee meetings. I think it's imperative that the appropriate people attend every meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
her representative?
Yes.
Well, then I think maybe the mayor or vice mayor need to reach out to her because she doesn't work for anybody on this staff anyway, but
Well-
maybe incumbent on one of you.
I'll reach out to her.
Okay. That,
Machinery and tools in 23, they billed she billed 10.3, and 24 was 10.1. This goes also with what Dr. Manker was speaking about earlier. You can definitely see, and when you look at your citywide financials or your general fund financials, you'll see year over year that it's been increasing in machineries and tools. Previously, it was only being budgeted at 8 million, but now you're actually getting 10 or more from machinery and tools moving forward. So that's where a lot of your increase is coming from. Okay. Machinery and tools rebates. 23 over 24 for plant 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the totals for 23 as well as 24. So it looks like in 24 she only gave rebates of 390,000.
the rebates go, when the rebates go back to the plant.
Can I comment?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I actually operate this, I manage this enterprise zone. These are enterprise zone rebates. And what happens is
Okay, they enterprise.
they burn off, yeah.
Yes.
So every year they get less and less. And so what's happened is that there was a lot of investment 4 years ago. And so those benefits were given year 1, 2, 3, 4. Now they're
Dropping off.
sunsetting. So that's why the revenues are going
Yeah,
up.
I got it. Thank you for the reminder.
Okay. Food and beverage has had a decrease since 2023. Previously it was 2.7, was 2.8 that was being billed. Now it's down to 2.1.
Wow.
Transient occupancy or lodging tax. 2023 it was 1 million. Now 2024 was only 600,000.
Wow.
And business license. 2023 1.8 million. 1.856 in 2024 it did increase a bit to 1.88. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. We'll move on to the treasurer's report.
Oh, I ask you a question. Miss Commissioner of Revenue, can you ask her, is anyone overdue and not paying their taxes from the machinery, tools, and all those things
She's got some.
from the plants? Can someone request that?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilor Denton.
Ms. Jordan, how about the cigarette tax? Is that should be some revenue coming in, but it's not in this report. Is that because we haven't started it yet?
I don't believe so. I believe it's on the
This is
council meeting for
24.
next week.
Well, it says 20.
But the last fiscal year, it ended,
Past
it ended,
24,
it ended
yes.
June 30th.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I mean, you can give an anticipated number, right? Of how many cigarettes were sold here. No, they would know that.
The cigarette ordinance does not go into effect until January 1st, 2025.
That's
Oh,
right.
really? Why did we do that?
Because the Commissioner of Revenue required 6 months of, she laid out how long it would take for her to get the implementation in place.
Yeah, I
She
didn't
said
know
she
we-
could not do it in a month or so.
Really? 6 months?
I didn't know that.
So remember, we had to amend that number, and you even brought it up in one of the hearings,
Right.
because it wasn't gonna start until January.
Yeah.
Oh, I know I was just wondering why we
Yeah,
did.
yeah. Mhm.
And actually next Tuesday, because we only had a quorum of 4 people on the dais, Vice Mayor Gore was actually virtual that day. It passed, but it did not pass with a supermajority, and so on Tuesday, I'm gonna have to ask you guys to vote for it again. But we're still moving on forward with the implementation. We just need to legally do it the correct way. It was the first reading, and only 4 people voted
Oh, for the cigarette tax. I'm
for
sorry.
the
I thought you-
cigarette
yeah.
tax. Yes, we needed 5. Okay, so it's back on the agenda.
And to answer your question, Ms. Pelham, the machinery and tools, there's only one as of today that is delinquent. Everybody else has been paid up as of first half of 2024.
Thank you.
For the machinery. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
We can start with my PowerPoint. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I do want to address our last meeting, in regards of the business licenses. We asked the question as far as the treasurer going out, who is responsible to go out and close or shut down the businesses if they were delinquent. So I did get clarification with that. And the treasurer is responsible with the help of the sheriff to go out and shut down any businesses if they are definitely delinquent. Now, in regards to the Commissioner of Revenue Office, they have the ability to go to the magistrate office to file a report with those ones who have not completely filed their business license on time. And then that will possibly, I guess, shut them down in the beginning part. But in reference of the delinquencies, the treasurer is responsible to shut down any business that is delinquent, severe delinquent, with the help of the sheriff. So I did want to pinpoint that. As well as, before I start my report, as far as any contacts in regards of the citizens, any concerns, any building taxes concerns, or any general concerns. I do understand that as the city council, it is, your responsibility to assist the citizens and to steer them the right way. But if it's possible, please allow each citizen to come to the treasurer's office or their concerns to the treasurer's office, so we will be able to help them the best way that we can, to direct them the best way. So that is one thing I definitely wanted to address before I did start the PowerPoint. Now the PowerPoint is similar to from last meeting, but I'm just giving you guys an update as far as the numbers. In regards of, you can go to the next slide. Okay, next slide. Okay, now from 2019 to 2022, as of yesterday, it does show that we are $3,842,655. And the next slide, $55.82. And keep in mind that all of these taxes for personal property has gone to TACS, which is our taxing authority, collection agency, and they are now doing garnishments, liens on the personal property taxes for those particular tax monies to come in. And you can go to the next slide. And, okay. And you can go to the next slide. Okay, now TACS monthly sends us a report of what they have collected, as we see from 2023 until now. It does look like they have, when I say 2023, November of 2023 until now, they have collected $1,086,874.58 from the $3 million that I did mention earlier. So they are definitely doing their part of bringing the monies back into the city. And we can go back, go to the next slide, please. And business licenses. With the business licenses at this time, we do have our Virginia auction collection attorney that is out there seizing properties and basically placing notices on properties advising that they are delinquent. Right now, we are showing, if I pull the reports in the system, we are showing a delinquency of $504,368,056 in delinquencies at this time for the 5 years for the business licenses. The next slide, please. Next slide. And this is basically the same as last week. The next slide is basically going over who our collection attorneys are with Virginia Auction, as well as Jason Dunn at TACS. I did not update this particular number because Virginia Auction just gave me an updated as of today. But they have collected over $5,000 as far as the business's delinquencies since they started last month. Next slide. Okay, now in regards of real estate, we collect 20 years for real estate, and out of the 20 years, it is showing that we are delinquent $918,273.70 at this moment. All of 2024 first half taxes has gone. The notices has gone out to each citizen advising if they're delinquent. We are giving them until November of this year, and due to we have some that have payment arrangements and they would like to fulfill those payment arrangements to see if they can catch up. So we have some, we'll have plenty that have payment arrangements, so we are giving them until November to pay these delinquencies off, and if not, they will be sent to Jason Dunn for further collections. Okay, and again, the next 3 slides is basically going over who Virginia Auction and Sands Anderson and Jason Dunn is.
So Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Virginia Auction, is that just another person that collects taxes?
Right. So they are another agency that collects the taxes for the business.
For business
For
taxes?
business taxes.
And Jason Dunn and Sands Anderson does it for
That's
real
for the
estate?
real estate.
Okay, person, okay.
All right, you can go to the next slide. And I did not update Jason Dunn either because Jason Dunn stated that he was not going to be able to give me an update until Wednesday. So the next meeting we have, I definitely will provide an update on both Jason Dunn and Virginia Auction. Does anybody have any questions?
You say you're gonna get it Wednesday, as in tomorrow Wednesday?
Tomorrow is Wednesday, yes.
Can you just send an update out
Okay.
to City Council and include Ms. Jordan and Dr. Manker?
Yes, I can do that. I'll do that for Jason Dunn and Virginia Auction on tomorrow.
Okay. Vice Mayor Gore?
Do you need a question?
I have a question.
Okay, all right, hold on. Let's start using our lights. All right. First one I saw was Vice Mayor Gore, and then Ms. Pelham, and then Mr. Harris.
Thank you for getting this prepared. Again, I know the meeting kept being called, canceled, so I appreciate you still following through with this. I just want to get some clarity on this last slide. We had the 3 partners listed. So he says collected as of April 2024. Is this like since the term of their engagement with us? Because I think at the top of the parentheses you put when they started with us. So
Yes.
since 2020, he's collected $179,000.
As of this year, go January until April, that's how much he has collected. But overall, as you see, from 2020 to 2022, he has collected $1 million.
I'm sorry, I messed up. All right, in terms of Sands Anderson, how does that engagement work? And because one of the concerns I've heard from prior treasurer office is that they're really not active in going after delinquent payments. So what has your engagement been thus far? Because I've said, if that's the case, why do the office still have them as their point of contact?
So that's a definite, a good question. And we have a meeting with him on August the 30th to review the contract along with I'm sorry, what is your name, ma'am? Miss Beverly, right? Miss Beverly. And we will be discussing his contract to see where we are with the contract, to see if there is possible ways that we could transfer those properties that he's not collecting to Jason Dunn, if that's the case. And then, as Ms. Jordan mentioned, the joint meeting or joint group that we, tax group that we're getting ready to implement, they are getting ready to help us with the commercial buildings, along with Mr. Bennett, to decipher what Sands Anderson has done with, for example, MPD Ventures and the delinquencies that we have with the city. So there are some parcels out there that the city, it says delinquencies that the city owns at this time. So I definitely want to get with the task force to engage on what will we do with those particular, now are they tax exempt or is the city actually responsible for these particular properties that are delinquent at this time? So yes.
Okay, so more to come on the commercial part, and city manager, make sure she communicates the result of that to us. And just other points of clarity, just to have understanding. I see you say real estate taxes is $918,000 that is outstanding. Then you have personal property, which is $3.8 million, and then you have business license, which is $500,000. So all together, we're looking at like
a little bit
$5.4 million in delinquent taxes.
That's over 20 years, though.
That's 20 years.
No, but I'm saying, but that's the outstanding
That's
number.
what we see, yes.
Okay.
So that's current, that's what we currently have.
If I was to go in the system right at this very moment and pull the list of all the unpaid taxes, yes, that's exactly what we show.
Okay.
And where is the meals tax on here and lodging that businesses have to give us?
The meal tax. So that, we have to give you that. I'll get that in the report.
Okay. Okay. I have other questions, but I will wait to see what other people have.
Okay. Councilor Pelham, then Harris, and then Joyner.
Oh. No, I forgot. I bypassed me.
Okay, Counselor Harris.
Going back to your introduction when you mentioned about if we had individuals that had problems and we would direct them to you, how in the past have it been being communicated to you in regards to people's problems in the city?
Okay, so we have had some city council members who will come and just send an email and say, hey, this concern is happening and can you help this citizen fix the issue? And that is fine because it's an email being directed to our office to help. But then there's some city council members that there is a direct, you coming to the office and saying, hey, do this now, or I'm completely involved and I need this to happen right now, and if it doesn't happen, this is how it's going to be. And I'm just wanting to see if we can just work together, and if it's something that the citizens does come to any of the city councilmen, just come and approach me as a treasurer and say, hey, can we work together to make this work? But then I had a city council person that just recently came, and we had a really good conversation when that person came, and it was fine. But it's just, I guess it's the approach and how it's being directed, and I just want us to all come together as one to help the citizen versus that way.
Thank you. I understand. And I do know you do know that being elected, that the citizens come to us about anything, okay, almost anything, and they expect us to walk on water.
Right. I understand. And you
they-
guys do your
and they figure
power
that-
to try to help
right.
that citizen. Right.
And we have to explain to them what we have and what our responsibilities are.
Right.
And yes, I would direct them to you. And I can understand because most of the things that I do, all the things that I do to my city manager myself. That's me, speaking for myself. And I understand what you're saying when you say, well, hey, and sometimes I know you may feel bullied in regards to what it is that you're doing. So I think that's something that we have to take a look at as a council, how we communicate with the department heads and individuals like yourself, and what it is, what it is that we are in line to be doing, okay? So that I can respect that. And I heard that from your initial beginning. And thank you for your answer.
Okay. Next person I have is Counselor Joyner, Denton, Gore, and then Pelham.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm clear, and we talked a little bit about, those properties that we were discussing. So those are not included in these delinquencies. Those numbers are not are part of this. Those are outside of the scope.
So keep in mind that those ones that are with Sands Anderson or Jason Dunn, they are basically taking care of that particular amount. These ones, well, no, you're right. So they aren't.
They're not included. These are separate. So there are these others that are out there that we've discovered.
Right. So
recently.
These ones here that the $3 million.
Right.
Is the personal property. The $500,000 is they're not the MP Ventures of the $60,000 that they owe at this time. So no, they're not.
They owe more than that.
Right.
They owe a whole lot more than that.
Right.
So, but those are some that we've sort of discovered recently.
Right.
Correct. So they're not included in this
No.
number. Okay.
No.
Just want to make sure I'm clear.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Counselor Denton.
This is just kind of a general remark. I'm following up on Councilor Harris. I think all city departments need to know that we do get calls from our constituents. The last, I think I've had quite a few from trash. And I get them every day. I'm just in hopes that all departments, I'm not picking on you, Shannon, I'm just saying for the city, we need to be conscious when a citizen calls the city for assistance, that we try our very best to make them feel that they're, even though we may just laugh and say, oh my gosh, this stupid question, it isn't stupid to them. And we need to be respectful, polite, and caring for our citizens when they call anybody in the city for assistance. And the worst thing I hate to hear is when they call me and say, I've tried, but I've gotten nowhere. So I think this is just, I'm sorry you're standing here. We shouldn't be talking to the whole city, because we all talk to the citizens. And we need to be a little bit more mindful of trying to help them. So then we won't have to get involved. But thank you.
Okay, Vice Mayor Gore and then Councilor Pelham.
Do you want to go before me?
Please. I remember. The Sands Anderson, the contracts, are these contracts that be renegotiated every 5 years? And is this Sands Anderson, at the year that they need to put in, we need to put it back on contract on you?
I do believe, and I will again review the contract in depth, but I do believe that Sands Anderson is not within a contract where we can go ahead and get rid of them at this time.
No, I don't think, I'm just saying, every so often you're supposed to do it, right?
Right.
And if, so you know that, are we in that time frame that we have to renegotiate?
Do you have the contract?
It is
Okay.
that it's past the time frame for them to.
For it to be put on the market?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
That was always my concern when I was just a delinquent tax collector in the office, was why did we have Sands Anderson? Because Sands Anderson never had had the willpower like Jason Dunn. Jason Dunn, when we hired Jason Dunn in 2020, he came in and gave us like money right away. And by the time I noticed, I was like, wait, how is Sands Anderson only giving us $100 every 2 months, and then Jason Dunn already gave us $600,000. So it's always been my concern, but now I have the ability to say they can leave us, so, or we can get rid of them. Right.
Yeah.
And then again, we have the help of our city attorney that will be able to intervene to make sure that we are doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I mean, cut them loose if they're underperforming.
I understand, yes, and I truly believe that. But I always thought that you all had them for a reason. What was Sands Anderson Reed Broughton? Like, I've always heard his name, so I thought he was like someone here for us to keep around. So
no, that's something exclusive of the Treasurer's Office, which is why I kept trying to have a discussion about this, to talk about all contracts. So, are you done, Councilman?
No, and so the date beside each one of these are the date, how long they've been in business with us, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So, excuse me, in regards to Sands Anderson, most of the time they are a bond counsel as well as they do some delinquency work within localities. So, the delinquency piece, unfortunately, of it is they don't really move at the fast pace because to them, that's not their bread and butter. Their bread and butter is being attorneys and bond counsel to other localities. So they really don't do a lot with the delinquency piece of it. But when you look at the contract, just make sure that we don't get rid of them as bond counsel because we would have to have them. But the delinquency piece can go. That's all I have to say.
Does that bond contract have to be bid out every 5 years?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen your contract for the bond counsel as of yet, but I'll look into it.
Yeah, I think all our contracts need to be looked into.
Thank you
to
very
be,
much.
be
Ms.
bidded.
Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt you, Ms. Pelham, but Ms. Foskey, when you're doing that, looking at that contract, have Mrs. Burton look at it as well.
Miss Burton.
She's in the
City
meeting.
attorney.
She said.
Oh yeah, she'll be
Okay.
there.
All right, I just want to make sure.
Miss Beverly.
Miss Beverly.
Miss Beverly.
Miss Beverly, right.
That's right.
Be there. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Vice Mayor Gore.
Just want to make sure we're tracking something. City manager, please have on your takeaways for tonight the finance director's review of the bond contract. Also, treasurer to provide us with the meals and lodging delinquency information. I do have some other items I just want to circle back to. I just want to make sure I'm not missing information. In your PowerPoint, you provided the recaps of monies due over an extended period of time. Where is the number for 2023 and 2024 exclusively? Do you have that broken out that you can give us in a separate message? Because I think this is great. Look at the whole number, but I'm really interested in the last
Oh,
few
okay.
years.
I can do that. So you want to break down, and I like how Miss Reason actually broke it down, just 23 and 24.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna definitely use that so y'all can see that next time. So
Yeah.
and you want that for everything, 2023 and 2024. Okay.
But then to Dr. Manker, one of the things I wanted to have for council is to see what was billed and what was collected for all of these external revenue sources where residents can be late. So I'm talking about sewer, trash, personal property, real estate, like anything that the customer has to pay. So I like to see billed by year, collected by year.
Yep.
Because that's the story I want to really piece together. So please provide that information to us across the board. Also, as it pertains to, this is not your area, but I'm just going to ask my other ask. The Commissioner of Revenue's office, I had asked for the number of businesses that are delinquent in their payments, and I don't see that here in the presentation as well. So there's two factors with that. There's businesses created during COVID that we learned through the development's office that were not paying business leads and weren't even registered businesses. So that's one component that we're like, okay, who's addressing that? But then the other part is in terms of delinquent payments, we don't have anything regarding business licenses. So who has a business license that's on file that has not paid?
But we've got that.
I mean,
I didn't see that in hers.
The business licenses is right
the
there.
business licenses I have in
Did I miss
here.
it? She just had what she collected. She didn't say what was delinquent.
Okay, well I can do that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oh, yeah.
It's just what was collected.
Okay.
Okay.
Not what we didn't collect. So bond contract, meals, lodging specifically, number of businesses that are delinquent, and if they have an answer regarding what the plan of approach was for the businesses that were created during COVID that were identified by development, but then also an itemized list of billed and collected for all of this stuff. Just point of clarification, Madam Treasurer, in regards to the payment plans and protocols for that. What is there a written protocol for payment plans that people can easily access? Because I was trying to look for that information, and I don't see anything like on the Treasurer's website. And this is a while ago, so if you have something up there, don't get mad because I missed it. But what could, going back to the question that Councilor Harris asked, what is it that we point them to as a policy for who's allowed to have a payment plan? What does that process look like? And how is when, let's say I'm on a payment plan, like, so is it duration until the bill is paid, or is it for a year? What is that? What are those terms? But then most importantly, how does someone get off of the payment plan if they're not meeting their obligations? Like, what is that protocol? Is that clearly established and defined so that way we can point to it? And if not, what's the plan? Like, what is your office's practices for that?
Right, so it is in the most updated SOPs right now. It is in the personal property SOPs in regards of the payment plan. We did not get the real estate SOP just yet, but the good thing is, yes, as of yesterday, we have a whole brand new site at hopewellva.gov.
Okay.
If you go to the Treasurer's office, you guys will see that it's very convenient for the citizens.
Okay.
They have the payment plans on there. It explains the delinquencies of the taxes. It's everything's new, so definitely look on there. Now, regardless of the payment plan, it does give a snippet of who can do a payment plan and what type of payment plans we offer, which is personal property and real estate. Now, this application that's on the website is just for them to fill out, and then it's going to come to the treasurer's office so us to determine if their account is eligible for a payment plan. Now, what makes you eligible for a payment plan? Right now, keep in mind that for the personal property taxes, everything 2022 on back, or 2022 to 2019 is with TACS. 2023 is currently still in-house with us. Okay. Now, what we are doing is if a citizen come in and say, hey, I need to pay all of this money and I need to get my DMV stop removed, we will ask them, hey, would you like to be on a payment plan? And this payment plan, they have to put down 20% in order to be on the payment plan, and we'll give them 3 months. Now, within that 3 months, well, we go ahead and remove the stop for them at that time, and we will allow them to make the payment within the 3 months. Okay. If they do not fulfill that 3 months, the stop will go back on, and they're automatically going to TACS. Okay. But we haven't had any issues, and everybody has been on the payment plan. Okay. And the same with real estate.
So just for clarity, the payment plans you guys are managing in-house is just for 2023?
It's just for 2023.
Okay, and all of them are 3 months?
All of them are 3 months.
Okay, and TAC, once the 2022 and further back, is exclusively managed by that vendor?
Right, and they offer payment plans as well, but with them, they can't remove their DMV stop. Okay. They're just offering a payment plan for them to fulfill that obligation that they have.
And who, in terms of your office checks and balances, like, who is scrubbing your internal payment plan thing to make sure people are not slipping through the cracks? Only because we're talking about delinquencies and all this other stuff and potentially other billing. Right. Do you have the manpower for that?
Yes, so we have, yes, we do. We have our delinquent tax collector, and we just hired a part-time delinquent tax collector that is actually managing monthly whoever is behind, or giving them a call and saying, hey, you have to come in here, or you will be sent to.
Okay, and then the last question I have is, if you get booted off of it because you don't make your payment, like, let's say, I don't want to get further at least, but let's say you supposed to make a payment, and I guess you give them like a 30-day grace period. I'm just making up numbers. If I don't get it within that 30-day grace period, I'm taking off the payment plan. Are they allowed to be back on the payment plan?
Well, we haven't had any, we haven't had that situation, right? So everybody has been fulfilling their payment plan. Would they be able to get back on the payment plan? I will give them another chance, but it wouldn't be like a consistent chance or an over chance that they will be able to get, because they're not fulfilling the payment plans from the beginning.
I would just caution to make sure it's in your SOP so there's consistency across the board, because the moment you let one person do it and then they word of mouth and then they come back, and then you're going to have a problem in your office. Especially if we're trying to really address this issue. It's just words of advice to say, you know, have the policy, stick to it, and you're here to also, like you said, the heartbeat of seeing your presentation, collect these funds for us so we can operate the city. So just be mindful that you don't want to have it to be so much wiggle room to where it's subjective, and then also, you know, the consistency between treasurers, and just making sure that you know, now we're putting these SOPs in place that it has long fidelity in what you're doing. That's all the questions I have, and as team manager, I think you got all my points that circle back to you. Okay. Well, thank you for the information and getting this for us.
Okay. Is there anyone else that has any questions for the treasurer?
I just have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that, well, first of all, thank you very much to our new finance director for a great presentation. I think we just need more detail. So that we, you know, look at these big numbers. We need to know what we're looking at. And thank you for your presentation, Madam Treasurer.
Yes,
really good. My question, it piggybacks on Vice Mayor Gore, and that is, it's really interesting that, you know, one of the most notorious offenders in terms of delinquencies are in meals and lodging taxes. And that's why, I mean, her point is well taken, that we really need to zero in on that number.
I understand. I got it down. I'm going to get it. I'll get it for you guys.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Now, I have Nika coming up, which is my accountant. She's going to give you the city finance with the bank state the analysis. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. Everyone has a handout, and it's on the screen of our July bank statement activity for each account. It's broken out per week. The top portion, of course, is your credits that we receive from the various state, local, state, federal monies that were deposited in these various accounts. And the bottom part of it shows your expenditures of how the monies were expensed per the different bank accounts that they hit. Either it is for the school or for the city. And these are their numbers per week. And this is updated every week and sent out to our internal team, including city manager.
I got a question.
Okay.
I do too.
Councilor Joyner and then Councilor Powell.
Okay, this number down here, this 21,455,000, this does not include our rainy day fund. Is that correct?
This is just revenue money.
That's just want to make sure
is
that
just
everybody
revenue,
knows
guys.
that.
This is nothing else but just cash coming in the bank accounts.
That's exactly right. I just want to make sure everybody knows.
And how it's spent out per
right.
the different bank accounts for either school or the city.
Okay, so general fund.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Explain to me again. On the off for payroll, it's less on these odd weeks because people get paid differently. Everybody doesn't get paid. Everyone don't get paid at the same time, correct?
Which one are
For
you
the
talking
city
about?
payroll and the school payroll. You know, like it's $1 million one week, and the next week is 417,000. So in 60,000.
Well, I would have to go into the details of what it breaks down to, and maybe I can expand that information further for you guys so you can see what those are on those specific
Because I'm always
weeks.
interested to see, does anyone
she-
ask the question before? Does anyone in the city ever get bonuses?
No, ma'am, but the costs that you have, that you see here are on the off weeks, there are insurance payments. They're not,
That's
one
a part of
is
payroll
just-
too.
I'm sorry.
That's payroll payment too.
Payroll payment too, right.
Okay.
So
Not just salaries.
The salaries are the big numbers, the 2 million. Then on the off week, there's insurance.
Payouts.
And those are smaller. And so every other week they alternate. But Ms. Naka can bring back a breakdown. I just wanted to try to give you an answer to what it is.
What's inclusive
What's
of that?
included
Of
in
course.
it.
Maybe that'll clear my brain up.
No worries, I'll
It's so
jot it on
vast.
there for you.
Ma'am?
I said no worries, I'll drop it on there for you.
Okay, thank you.
That answered the question for me.
Yeah.
For city manager in
another-
regards to
and
why
that-
the weeks were weird. But I do have a question.
One other question is that, do we have any debt services going to be dropping off, Dr. Manker, anytime?
I think we have one that's in about 2 years, but I have to get you that actual debt. I can
Sheets, okay. Yeah, we
to
might
let
be-
you know which one it is.
Thank you.
Okay. Let me make a note of that.
Are you done, Councilor Kelly?
Don't bitch me.
For the grant section, one of the issues that we've had in the past is not having the appropriate line items broken out for when the money is coming through. It's usually sitting in one big pot, and I know they've been working to flesh that out. So grants and all other, and particularly the grants, has that been addressed so where the money comes in and goes to where it needs to go to for the Department for Grant money?
As long as we are notified where it needs to go to, we're dropping it in there. We have to be notified. We will get the monies deposited into our bank account. We will just see a number and a date and maybe a description of some kind. So we will do an internal and look around, email to our different department heads and say, hey, this money came in, does this belong to you? Sometimes they are kind enough to notify us in advance, and for those who notify us in advance, we would allocate it to the different org and object numbers that they provide.
But for the ones that you don't know, what is your protocol, like besides just email?
We ask the question, we find out, And if we don't find it out or we don't get an answer in a timely manner, then it's put into our miscellaneous revenue. But it
That's what
doesn't
I'm
go
asking
there
about.
and live and die. No, it doesn't.
Well, it
we go
has.
back in
It's
and
lived
reclass it out.
Died.
It normally
again.
dies.
It's lived, died again. So that's
So
that's what
our
I'm asking.
process, is to go back in there and once we get the correct information from whichever department that money belongs to, it's then reclassed to that specific department based on who
Yeah.
told us where it needs to go.
Right. Okay. So my question is very specific to the miscellaneous part that you're talking about, because that has been an ongoing issue,
Problem.
where the money just dropped there, and then when they're doing reconciliation or end of the year, it's a whole thing. It's a big problem. So when that money gets moved over there, is the city manager notified or the finance director notified to say, hey, we don't have an answer about this pot of money, where should it go? Like, what is the protocol for making sure you at least communicate to those two staff members in particular before you move the money?
So when I say we do an internal look around, that part of that internal look around includes the finance department to find out if there's someone that that has notified that department to let us know, and they just didn't send us the email or didn't include us in that correspondence. So we do check in with everyone. Then that's the finance department.
And so you're saying if you get no response from all staff, you just put it over there. That means literally nobody's responding back to you.
Right, and if no one, in a timely manner.
What's a timely manner?
And
Well,
if
we
that
can-
happens, you need
Well, we
That's
don't
what
want
I'm
it to roll over into the next month.
No, we don't.
From just sitting in the miscellaneous account, say we get it in July and we're getting ready to go into August. You know, we don't want it to roll over into that particular month, sitting in miscellaneous revenue. So we will always try to make sure that we investigate where it needs to go and get that information in and reclass it out prior
Correct,
to
but
that
what I'm
month
saying is
closing
before
out.
it goes to miscellaneous, I'm asking about before it hits miscellaneous, the outreach to departments. And so what I'm saying is, before it goes there, are you saying that literally no staff member, specifically the city manager and the city finance director, has an answer to you, and then you move it to miscellaneous?
So we get these monies in, say, every day, right? We go in and class it every day. So if a day comes and we just don't know where it's supposed to go, we can't just let it sit there and not plug that revenue into Munis. It can't just sit, because then we will be out of balance.
Right.
So we have to allocate it somewhere, and the somewhere is miscellaneous revenue as a holding spot. So it stays there and holds there. But again, it's not going to go and just live and die in there. We investigate with our internal departments and find out who that money belongs to and reclass it out before that month closes out.
Yeah, I just want to get clarification. I get that this is the process now, but I'm just communicating that it did live and die, and die, and die, and die. So we're trying to make sure that that's not happening, especially with the monies we've invested with the finance team coming in to help address issues. So I just want to make sure it's very clear, because that had caused big problems with us in the audits. So it's glad to hear you have a new system, making sure it doesn't live there for longer than a month, so it doesn't roll over. That's refreshing and great to hear. But I just want to make sure we're on the same page. I think you have something to say.
Yes, ma'am. We actually just redid the SOP for the grants accounting process, and that will be trained on next week. Like, we included you in the training. So moving forward, that should not be an issue, because that information will be provided to the treasurer's office prior to, as soon as the grant is received and awarded with the city. It'll come before council if it requires to be. The revenue and expense codes will be entered in the system, and that information goes to the treasurer's office. So as soon as they receive the money, they'll have
They already
it.
have a
Won't
spot
be
for
no
them.
miscellaneous posted. So that training is next week.
Perfect.
That's
This is why
what
you
I'm
get
talking
big
about.
bucks. Thank you for that clarification. Appreciate it.
Any other questions?
No, that's good.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All righty. Thank you, guys. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I believe that concludes our agenda. Still check.
I make a motion with adjourn.
Okay.
Have a
Motion's
great
been
night.
made. Yep. Motion's
I
been
gotta
made to
speak to
adjourn.
watch
All in
tomorrow.
favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Obama.
Nope. It's done.